So good morning, everybody. Always a very warm welcome to you on this Magic Makeup Monday. I don't know what it's like where you are, but we've got sun, a bit of puffy cloud in the sky as well, but it sort of does feel quite spring-like this morning. And what Sally and I discussed was the idea of giving you a kind of masterclass, really an eye makeup masterclass. You may have noticed already that I'm not wearing any eye makeup. And I've done that on purpose, obviously, because I wanted you to look at my face without any eye makeup on. So I've done everything else, but haven't added the eye makeup. And I always feel that eye makeup is crucially important, really, to your overall look. So you can put all the other lovely stuff on your face, but if you haven't got any eye makeup on, then it does look slightly unbalanced. And it's like, why is eye makeup so important? Well, it's quite a lot to do with the fact that a face, when we look at a face, we tend to look at the eyes. And of course, if we're talking to somebody, we would hope to have complete eye contact with them. So that means that your eyes are absolutely critical to the whole appearance of you, really. You know, they say the eyes are the windows of the soul. And clearly, it is a very, very important part of your face. So let's give you, Sally and I, in as much as we can, absolutely everything that we know, all the tips, all the techniques, everything that I feel that you need to consider when it comes to eye makeup. That's what our intention is this morning, to do this kind of masterclass with you. We also know that our eye makeup videos are our most popular. They get the most views, and it's clearly because there's something about that means that eye makeup is particularly interesting, but maybe it's also particularly challenging. And I want to go through with you what some of those challenges are. And Sally will do the solution side of it. I am going to put my eye makeup on while we're on this call, but I'm going to do it off camera and then come back and you can contrast with what I look like now when I've got it all on. So our biggest message to you this morning is don't give up. Some of you may have to give up temporarily because you've got some kind of eye problem, but even there are ways to look better, and we'll talk about those. But I think what's really, really important is to think about what the problems are, and then we'll go through the solutions. And Sally's got a really interesting chart to share with you as well, which will hopefully illustrate some of those problems in a very graphic way. So let's start with the idea of, well, what are the problems? So I haven't got anything on this area of my face at all at the moment, nothing. So let's start at the top. So problems. So what are the problems with my brows at the moment? Let's say starting at the top, by which I mean the top of my eye. So my brows, I think, are pretty typical of brows of somebody of my age. As you all know, I'm 75. They have become, well, they've got they're law unto themselves, really. They've become extremely erratic and untamable. The hair itself on my brows has become thick and quite wiry. So instead of facing the right direction, instead of being all soft and silky, I think, like a young child's eyebrows, they're growing in the right direction, and they're just soft, silky little hairs. Well, mine have become hard and wiry and quite stiff. And they're hook-shaped, a bit like a hockey stick. And some of them are very straight and very long. And the result of this is that if you get in with a magnifying mirror, it's like weep at the sight of them, because they just are growing in all sorts of different directions. And as I said, the actual hair is very stiff and wiry. So what's my solution to that? Well, obviously, I can't change the way they're growing out of my face. I just can't change that. But what I can do is I can tweezer away those that I consider are being the most problematic. Now, a lot of older women won't tweeze their eyebrows because they think, well, I haven't got very much left. If I tweezer what I have got left, I won't have any eyebrows. Why am I so ruthless? Because I actually don't think that those few hairs that I've got that are errant, that are really behaving very badly, are serving me at all. So I'd rather get rid of them and leave what I can and then do the best with what's left. I'm not that bothered about the fact that my eyebrows will inevitably over time become probably even sparser than they are now, because I've got a solution for it. And of course, Sally will talk through what the solution is. And it's a very particular solution that Look Fabulous Forever has come up with. The next area is the bit underneath. Now, some of you, as I said, you've stopped tweezing your eyebrows because you're terrified that they're going to disappear completely. But what you have done is left all those, that sort of thicker band here almost of brow hair that grows down onto your brow bone. And I'd say, again, that's a problem. Get rid of it. When I used to do makeovers in the shop in Wimbledon, I often used to have women who sit down and they've got reasonably well-shaped brows here, but then they've got this sort of thicker band underneath here of odd hairs that I used to say to them, you're going to have to get rid of those. And they go, oh, but if I do that, it's yes, but you are going to have to get rid of them because they're not doing anything for your brow, for your eyes. And in fact, they're detracting from this bit, which is actually got quite a nice bit of your eye, your brow bone. And that needs to be brought to life with a bit of highlighter. Sally will obviously show you that as well. The next problem area potentially is the socket line. So again, it can be too deep or it can be not there at all. So if it's too deep, what do you do to lessen the depth of it? Why would it be too deep? Also, just a little bit on the structure of your face as you age. Unfortunately, as we get older, part of the way that we age is that our bones shrink. Now, we know that because we get shorter. We know that our vertebrae get smaller, so we get shorter. And the effect of that on the face is that, of course, your bones are less prominent and are smaller, and the skin that you've got hangs off them slightly. It sounds absolutely ghastly, doesn't it? But we all know that happens. This is the reality of an aging face. Now, the effect of bones shrinking, especially around this area here, the eye area, is that your eyes go back into your head quite a lot more than they did when you were younger. Now, again, eye makeup is the solution to that. You can do so much to overcome and compensate for that problem. It certainly happened to me. And I think because I have absolutely nothing at the moment in this area here, which I am going to correct with concealer, you can see how dark blue and how sort of relatively sunken my eyes are relative to how it was when I was younger. So again, don't despair, never despair about any of these problems. They all have solutions. And then the lid, well, what happens to the lids of our eyes? And the worst problem that we have on our lids is basically crepiness. I've used this analogy before, but it's such a good one, I'm going to use it again. If you think of smooth copy paper and blotting paper, that's the difference between a young eyelid and an old eyelid. So what do I mean by that? Well, obviously a young eyelid is lovely, smooth to the touch, anything that you put on it. So if you put ink onto a smooth piece of like copy paper, then you'll be able to draw this beautifully sharp line and it will look stunning. Try that on blotting paper using ink and, pen and ink kind of thing. And of course, what it does, it's bumpy, it's not very sharp, and it doesn't look very good. So again, the lids need to be looked at from the point of view of how do you reduce the amount of crepiness and to increase the amount of smoothness. Obviously, we have a solution to that. But then also, what about the shadows that you're using? How do you use those? Because again, with the lid, they can make an enormous difference. And finally, lashes, sparser, maybe slightly spiky. They're not that thick, luscious, gorgeous lashes that you might have had when you were younger. Some women solve that problem by using false eyelashes. Fine. If you like false eyelashes, use false eyelashes. My problem with false eyelashes is that they always look false. I mean, you never look at anybody who's wearing false eyelashes and think, gosh, she's got wonderful, thick, lustrous, gorgeous eyelashes. You think, gosh, she's done well with her false eyelashes. Like I said, I'm not going to lay down the law about it. I wouldn't wear false eyelashes because I don't like that effect. I think they can look overdone. They can also look quite heavy in relationship to your face when you're older. You don't want to add heaviness. You want to add the sort of suitable amount of lightness in terms of color and definition. I am just going to say something about glasses. I know I mentioned this quite a lot, but I really, really do feel strongly about this. A month ago, when I was doing last Makeup Magic Monday, I was in Cornwall, and I was in Cornwall to see Prue Leith. And, you know, Pruleith is famous for her glasses. And actually, she started a tie-up, I think, with Specsavers. And you can go in there and buy Pruleith frames. So I think it's called Specs by Pru or something like that. Anyway, she told us that some while ago she had laser surgery, or she had cataracts removed or something. She had something done to her eyes, and she can now see perfectly. She doesn't need glasses. So her glasses have no glass in them. But she said, I started looking at myself in the mirror without glasses and I hated it. I hate what I saw. So she's so used to wearing glasses that she still wears them, even though she doesn't need them. But many of you will need them. And therefore, what do you do? So I've got, I don't need glasses for everyday use, but I need them for driving. And I also need them for close work now. So I tend to find that my eyes, if I'm on the computer for very long, they get tired and I need to wear them. So I'm going to put, these are my glasses. So these are the glasses that I wear when I'm driving. These are slightly finer in terms of the frame. So I wear these when I'm doing close work, when I'm doing computer stuff. I'm writing on the computer for a long time. And then I'm going to add sunglasses, because certainly a day like today, I would need sunglasses when I go out. And let me show you my latest pair of sunglasses. So these are Ray-Ban. And I quite like them. I think they've got quite a delicate frame, but and they've got this two-tone effect, which I like a lot. So I think that glasses are a brilliant solution to problems when you can't wear eye makeup. And anyway, you know, sunglasses are very, very useful if you go out in the sun. So always think in terms of, if you do wear glasses, how can you make sure that your glasses make the kind of statement that your eye makeup makes? And, you know, go for some jazzy glasses. I think, I mean, Prue didn't tell us how many pairs of glasses she's got, but she must have a lot, you know. And each of them is there to add something to her outfit. I don't know, you saw her last night. I watched Stand Up to Cancer, the, you know, Celebrity Bake Off thing, and she was wearing a very bright pair of blue ones. She doesn't wear very much eye makeup, but she goes to town on her glasses and her lipstick. That's a good solution. And just finally, a little bit about what is it about the eye makeup that we sell at Look Fabulous Forever? Why is that better than the stuff that you buy from other brands? And this really cuts to the core of why I started Look Fabulous Forever. I got hugely frustrated with the products that were produced for younger faces, because they didn't work on my older face for all the reasons that I've just been talking about. So those products which were developed for that smooth paper, as opposed to the blotting paper of my face and skin, didn't work so well. So I found that, I mean, things like brow products just tended to be too strong. They weren't delicate enough. I couldn't make them delicate enough. Things like eyeshadows. You need eyeshadows to move. They have to be able to be blended. Otherwise, they look dreadful. And if you put an eyeshadow on to crepey skin and it's not formulated in the right way, there's a very good chance it will just get stuck. And when you come to bring a brush to bear, it doesn't work, because the thing is stuck on that particular part of your eye that you put it, and you can't move it around. You must be able to move eyeshadows around. So you'll find that eyeshadows, when you buy them, the colors are quite soft. They're quite subtle. Even ones that look quite strong in the compact, when you put them on, they're really, really subtle, and there's a reason for that. It's so that you can build the color, build the impact if you want to, but at the same time, you can keep moving those around and they'll look a lot more flattering. Same with the eyeliner. I'm going to let Sally describe some of these advantages as well, but same with the eyeliner that we just produced. It's soft, it's movable, it's blendable, it's smudgeable. It's not going to stick, you know, if you use a dark kohl pencil, like somebody who's like 18 will use, and it'll look terrific. You can't use something like that in an older eye. It just, as I say, it will drag. And it will actually, once you put it on, if you can't move it, you're stuck with that sort of slightly blocky effect. So I'm now going to hand over to Sally, who's going to do some demos for you. She's also going to talk through like a masterclass in terms of the how we look at the shape of an eye. Sally and I were talking about this on Friday. We have different eye shapes, for sure. Sally's eyes are bigger than mine. She has eyes that are 15, 16 years younger than mine. So obviously there are different issues with her eyes to my eyes, which is good for you watching this, because some of you will be as old as me and some of you will be as young as Sally. But what we have in common is that we have distinct 5 areas to our eyes. We have distinct brow area, brow shape, brow bone, lid, and socket line and lashes. Now, some of you will not have those things, and I want to pass over to Sally now, who will talk you through what those differences might be, because it might be quite frustrating for some of you to watch Sally and I apply eye makeup, and then you try it on yourself. You go, well, my eyes aren't like that. So we're going to tell you and show you how to compensate for those things by demonstrating it. So I'm going to go off now. I'm going to put my video off while I'm doing this, because it will be distracting if you're watching me put my makeup on. And what I'm going to do, I'm wearing this blue sort of jeans jacket thing this morning. It's from Bella Donotti. I'll give them a plug, because I've just bought myself another one in pink. It just came this morning, in fact. And I love this jacket for spring. And I'm going to take a risk, a slight risk, by putting on one of our brightest trios, which is the bright blues. So I'm going to put on the bright blues thing. But when we come back to me, I'll talk you through what I've done, and I'll show you as clearly as I possibly can the effect. Well, obviously, you know, I'll get as close to the camera as I can to show you the effect. So I'll stop going on now. Hopefully that's been helpful to you, and I'll pass to Sally, and Sally will, as I say, talk you through eye shapes and stuff, and do a demo for you. So goodbye for now. I should be listening, but applying my makeup off camera. Over to you, Sally.
Thank you. Thank you, Tricia. Good morning, everybody. Yes, it's quite a nice, lovely spring day here as well. That was really helpful. And I, like Tricia, have done all my makeup apart from my eye makeup. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to sort of talk through the solutions to some of the things that Tricia mentioned earlier. But the first thing I want to do is to show you, I think Bryony has got, we'll be able to put on screen, the eye shape chart. Could you do that for me, Bryony? And then we can hopefully, right. So you can probably see, hopefully, this chart that has got 6 different types of eye shapes. Now, what I'd like you to do is to objectively look at yourself in the mirror and decide which of these relates to you. Now, a basic almond eye, I have got a fairly basic almond eye, and a lot of ladies have basic almond eyes, where you can see we've got a chart at the bottom, dark, medium, and light. So what I like to say is, if you've got a basic almond eye, what you really want to do is just to enhance what you already have with eye makeup. So if you look at yourself with no eye makeup on, it will look lighter underneath your brow bone, underneath your brows, because that is slightly further forward. It will also look a little bit lighter right in the center of your movable eyeball, because again, that's further forward. So when you blink, it looks a little bit lighter there. And it naturally looks darker in that socket line area. So all you're doing really with almond eyes is just enhancing what you already have. And what I say is basically to put with that type of eye, put a fairly medium to lighter color all over as your base. Use a little bit of light potentially in the center, and use our highlighter underneath the brow, and then use a darker color in that socket line and maybe just on the outer corner of the eye. That's a sort of a very basic almond eye shape. If you look at the next one to the right, that is a prominent eye, and that's where your eyeball is actually protruding forward. And what you don't want to do if your eye is protruding forward is to put a really, really light color on that movable part of your eye, because that light colors bring forward and dark colors recede or push back. So with a very prominent eye, I would actually use a darker shade all over the eye. I wouldn't use something like cream or caramel. I would use a darker shade, maybe not the very darkest shades, but I would certainly be using a mid-range to darker color on that. I mean, I'd probably build up with something like taupe, and if I was warmer, I'd maybe put a little bit of chocolate over it just to make it that much darker. Or if I had cooler colors, I might use sort of pewter grey, and then maybe put a little bit of charcoal all over. But that's for a very prominent eye. So if you go underneath the basic almond eye, you've got close set eyes. So look at yourself in the mirror and think, are my eyes very close together on my face, close to my nose? If they are, I would suggest, again, using makeup as a sort of an illusion to make them look wider. You can actually make sure that your brows, Tricia talked about tweezering, if you've still got some brows, tweezer them a little bit so that there is a little bit of a wider gap above the bridge of your nose, which will create that effect of wider eyes. And I would also not put too much eyeshadow in the inner corner. I would leave that to just eye prime. You can see that area is just eye prime. So I would only put my eyeshadow on the outer edge of the eyes, which will then draw the attention to the outer edge. So that's if you've got a close set eye. If you have, it's quite rare, but sometimes ladies have slightly wider set eyes, and there you want to do the reverse, really. You want to draw the eye inward, so you don't want to tweezer your eyebrows. And if you're going to be adding bring back brow, which I'll talk about when I do my demo, you can bring that a little bit further in towards the nose, which will again make your eyes appear less wide. And what I wouldn't do then is to put lots and lots of strong makeup on the outer corner of your eyes. I would go for sort of a little, bring the eye makeup right up to the nose, use a medium colour there, and only use a tiny little bit of dark on the outer corner, if any, for a wide set eye. Hooded eyes, that when ladies come to me for eye makeup lessons, and when we're in the shop in Wimbledon, hooded eyes were probably the most commonly requested eye shapes to work with, because as we get older, as Tricia says, sort of gravity wears out and everything starts to come down. So you often get that area where your brow is. Can you still hear me? Hopefully you can. Comes down a little bit. So what you want to do with a hooded eye is, first of all, as Tricia said, check your eyebrows. Do they need shaping to make that area underneath them a little bit cleaner? Because if you've got really sort of bushy eyebrows, then you won't be able to sort of remedy it so easily with eyeshadow. And what you want to do with a hooded eye is to bring a slightly darker shadow a little bit higher up to give the illusion of a slightly higher false socket line. And this does not have to be with a really dark shade like chocolate or midnight blue, but if you use something like taupe, just to bring it up a little bit, and then if you want to create a bit of colour, you can put a slightly darker colour there, but it's higher than with a basic almond eye. And the other thing you've noticed on that hooded eye is the outer edge of the eye is much more vertical. So don't bring your eyeshadow down too low, because that will have the effect of drooping the eye more. So what you need to do with a hooded eye is to look at yourself straight ahead and apply your dark shadow so you can still see the darker shadow, that number sort of 7 shape, with your eye open and relaxed. I'll demonstrate that in a moment when I'm doing my demo. Finally, deep set eyes, smaller eyes. With a deep set eye, often deep set eyes have got, very, where the socket line, it goes back a lot. It looks much darker where that socket line is. So then you definitely want to keep that whole area a much lighter. The main bit of the eye needs to be lighter. You can use quite a nice sort of, even the lovely shimmery colours on the, like the golden mist, or silver mist, look quite nice on the inner third of the eye with a deep set eye. And I definitely would not be putting a darker colour into the socket line, because that would just accentuate that deepness. So everything needs to be sort of lighter, and don't bring your eyeliner all the way into the nose if you've got a deep set eye. That's important as well. So just keep it sort of light and fresh into the outside. So if I can come back to myself on the screen now, Bryony. I hope that was okay. It's very weird when I can't see anybody. Hopefully that's just giving you a few hints. Light brings forward, dark pushes back. That's the most important thing. So what I'm going to do is on this eye, I'm going to do a sort of full eye makeup. And on this eye afterwards, I'm going to do something very, very, very simple for those of you that just don't want to use eyeshadow or just haven't got time or just find it too hard to see. So the most important thing, I'll just put my flip on, get my hair back. With older eyes, as Tricia said, you get crepiness and you get the little veins showing through. And I think a lot of women just think, oh, I just can't be bothered with eyeshadow. It doesn't last, it creases, it's not how it used to be when I was younger and I used to be able to play with eyeshadow. The most wonderful product, if you haven't tried it, the Smooth Out Eye Prime really, really helps with various problems with eye makeup. So I'm going to just take the tiniest amount. You don't need very much. You can either put it on with your fingers, or I quite like to just put it on with the concealer brush number 4. So I'm just going to put this all over my lid area. If you've got deep set eyes, really make sure that you put it into the socket line as well. If you've got dark circles, you know, I put a bit of concealer here, but I'm going to put it here as well. And then I just blend it out. And what this does is several things. It will get rid of all that little bit of discoloration and veins and kind of all the it's not, the color on my eyelids is not as it used to be. It's definitely much more veiny. So it gets rid of that so that when I put my eyeshadow on, it is actually a true color to what it looks like in the box. And it also will stop. It's an amazing product that stops my eyeshadow from creasing. We often have little bits of oil and various things on our eyes that make our eyes crease. If you put a small amount of this onto dry, oil-free, clean eyelids, it really does help. If your eyes still crease, then what I sometimes say is put a tiny, tiny dusting of translucent powder on before you put your eyeshadow on. That also can help too. So, brilliant product and a fantastic solution for crepey eyes, for deep set eyes, for keeping your eyeshadow in place and not creasing throughout the day and night. Okay. Now, if you've got, Tricia talked about the eyebrow issue. Some ladies have virtually no eyebrows at all. As Tricia said, hers, you know, she feels that some of hers are not quite as they used to be, so she'd rather take those out. And I totally agree with that. I have lost, mine aren't too bad, but I have lost that sort of ½ centimetre, more on that side than that side. And I've got little gaps. Mine used to be really, but I used to have to tweezer them, wax them. I used to have really bushy eyebrows when I was younger and I hated them. And now I've got, you know, it's amazing, isn't it? What you wish you had, you suddenly don't have anymore. So the solution to this is the brilliant product that is Bring Back Brow Shape. And if you haven't had the confidence to try this, it takes a little bit of experimenting, but once you've got it, it is so easy to use. And if you've got no eyebrows, I would do it at this stage before you put any eye makeup on, so that you've got your sort of template as to where you put your eyebrows. I often do it at the end because I have got eyebrows, but today I'm going to put it on first. And the essential item with it is the spoolie brush, because as Tricia said, as we get older, they get a little bit wayward. So you want to brush them sort of really upward and then down to get that shape of anything you've got left. Even if you've got 2 hairs there, 1 hair, it'll just hopefully show where they are. Shake it. And this is the blonde one I'm using today. I sometimes use the brown one. This is blonde, and there's also one in grey. And again, if you need to, if you've got wide set eyes, bring them in a little bit more. If you've got close to the other eyes, you know, you can bring them out. So you can change the shape a little bit. But the secret to this product is just to put it on. I like to start in the middle, actually, just because then I feel more confident with the colour. This one is not too dark at all. With the brown, what I would do is take it, shake it, and just take a little bit of excess off on my hand or on a tissue. So all you're doing here is filling in the gaps, with, as you can see, little feathery movements. And for me, it's very much bringing it out a little bit more, filling it. So in those ones, I sort of go upwards. It's like a little paint, it's a brow paint, and it's waterproof. And because it's got such a fine brush, you can actually physically do individual hairs, which is very difficult to do if you're using a brow pencil or a brow gel or any other type of brow product. So this is very clever. You can already see that that eye looks a little bit more defined than that one. The secret to make this look really good is to then take the spoolie brush again and to just blend it. And then it will look totally natural and not like you have drawn your eyebrows. And even if you've got not a single brow hair, we've done some videos on, and I know I've done a demonstration on putting it on someone that's got no brows at all. So I know it's not quite so good because I have got brows for me to demonstrate this, but there are definitely videos on there with ladies with no brows at all on the site. Brian might even be able to put one up for us to show you. So bring back brow, amazing. So we talked about the 3 different colours, the light, the medium, the dark. So I'm going to use today, just to demonstrate sort of light, medium, dark, the warm brown trio. And if you're worried, I think a lot of ladies are frightened to use eyeshadow, maybe because they have put an eyeshadow on and felt that it just makes their eyes look clown-like. The fact that these are so buildable and so blendable makes them just work so easily. And I would suggest then, if you're a little bit nervous, rather than going straight in with a middle one, go in with the lighter shade. So go in all over with something like, so I'm just going to put the cream on. Obviously, unless you've got a prominent eye, as I showed in the chart, if you've got a very protruding eye, I would not be putting cream all over your lid. I would probably go in with, if I was warm colour, I would go in with cocoa all over the lid and maybe even put a little bit of chocolate on. But because I have got a fairly almond shaped eye, I'm just putting the cream all over the lid. Again, if you've got a hooded eye, don't bring that colour down too low. Keep your boundary from your corner of your eye up to your eyebrow, and the more hooded, keep that boundary even more vertical, which lifts everything up. So because they're so gentle, you need to put enough eyeshadow on. If you just sort of dab away very tentatively with eyeshadow, when you put your second colour on, then there won't be enough for the second colour to sort of blend into the first colour, and it will all look a little bit patchy. So don't panic about putting enough on. This is such a gentle colour, you can't really go wrong. I put it to about there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to put on what I call the number 7 shape, because this is where you're creating a socket line. And particularly if you have got a hooded eye, you can't do it in your actual socket line because you won't be able to see it because your eye will be quite hooded. So if you've got a hooded eye, you need to do it a little bit higher. Now, Tricia, I know, often uses, and it's a really good idea, she kind of sort of does it like that. So you can use a cotton pad and just do that. The other little trick that a lot of makeup artists are doing, it's all over YouTube, which is, I thought I'd have a little go, is you can do it like this. You can actually take some eyelash curlers and literally hold them like that. So you're creating there a template on where to put your sort of darker colour. So have a go with that. If you find that just doing it freehand is a bit tricky, let's have a go like this. So I'm using cocoa. What I'm doing, I'm just doing that. I might show a different technique. If you haven't got the eyelash curlers and you've never tried them, oh my gosh, they are so brilliant. So you can see that's already just very gentle. It's still a gentle colour. The other option, as I said, you can just do that. It's the same kind of effect. You haven't got eyelash curlers. So you're creating the socket line just above the socket line in a sort of nice sweeping motion, or you can just do it freehand like this. So you want this shape to be just above the socket line. And what I like to do is to then bring it down onto the corner. So I just come down just to elongate the eyes, make them look even more shaped. So very simple. Cocoa's a very gentle, warm colour to use. So it's just hopefully opened up the eyes without looking scary. But seriously, if you haven't tried this one, it's quite easy to do, because you can just rest it there on your eye and just go for it. And then you get the shape, the perfect shape for your socket line. So that's the middle colour. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to add, just for a bit of fun, before I do the eyeliner effect, I am going to add a little bit of sheer brilliance. So if you want that, I talked about with an almond eye, bringing the middle bit forward a little bit more. What I like to do, particularly for evening, this is a really nice effect, is just to put a little bit of golden mist, or if you are cool, you can use silver mist. You see where I've put it, just in the center. It looks a bit weird to start with. And what you need to do then with it is just let it dry. I tend to like to use just a cotton pad and just blend it very slightly. So you just got that little, can you see that little bit of light in the center? Again, I wouldn't do this if I had a very prominent eyelid that I don't want to bring forward. But if I had a smaller eye or a deep set eye, doing this with a deep set eye, I would put it even more. I'd put it in this area. And with a deep set eye, I wouldn't put too much. I would sort of do more on the outer and above the socket line with my slightly darker color, because I don't want to accentuate the socket line. So what I'm going to do is to use eyeliner. And I'm going to use two things. I'm going to, first of all, take the beautiful dark brown chocolate, it's dark brown eyeliner. And this is one of our soft eyeliners. For me, my eye makeup doesn't really come alive until I put eyeliner on, whether I'm using an eyeliner itself or using a darker shadow. I'm going to use both today. So I'm going to just start, I like to start on the outside and I lift it slightly. And as Tricia said, these are such lovely eyeliners because they move. They are blendable, they are soft, you don't have to drag. What I'm doing is pulling my eye so that it's slightly smoother here, so that because normally what you don't want to do is that. You do not want, if you sort of scrunch your eye up, you're not going to get that lovely smooth line that you used to be able to get without doing this. But and I always think to myself, I'm drawing on the lashes. If you think I'm drawing on the lashes, you will go at the right height. You don't want there to be a gap between your lashes and the eyeliner. So that's the dark brown just on the top. I'm going to put a little bit underneath. You don't have to put it underneath if you feel, and some eyes, if, like I said, if you've got a very sort of small eye or it's very round, you wouldn't want to necessarily put your eyeliner all the way around, maybe just a tiny bit on the outer edge. So I'm going again, just taking it so that it's slightly stronger on that outer edge, and if anything, bringing the bottom up to meet the top. So could not be easier to use this eyeliner. It's so simple to use. If you think, I just still think it looks too harsh on me, or I want it to look a little bit softer, then I would still take my wedge brush number 8 with the darkest shadow in the trio, which is chocolate. And it's not the right one. That's the right one. I'm just about to use a lip brush. So this is the number 8 one. So what I'm going to do now is to just go over. And if you just don't want to use an eyeliner for whatever reason, then this has the same effect. So I'm just going to, I like to use both. I like to soften the eyeliner and set it even more because I'm putting powder on with a dark shadow. I just love the effect that has. And again, underneath, just a little bit on that outer corner, as close to the lashes as you can. And then if you want to go a little bit bolder, this is when I might take a little bit extra of the dark chocolate just on that outer corner, maybe for evening or for a little bit more drama, just to go over where I have put the cocoa, if you want to. You don't need to, but I just want to show you the effect of just a tiny bit of that makes it just that little bit stronger. So what I'm going to do now is to highlight this area. So this is the area where if you haven't taken away and tweezed away those little hairs, which often happens, you say ladies with quite lots of little hairs here, and you just think, oh, if you would just tweeze or have them waxed or shaped once, then they're very easy to look after. Because if you've got lots of hairs there, it's harder to use the beautiful highlighter, the Instant Bright Highlight. So this product, I love it. I call this my magic pen. And what this does, I just put a little bit sort of doing there. And what I like to do is just take my concealer brush and just blend it. So that just has highlighted and brought forward that brow area, which also makes my brows look neater and cleaner because there's more of a contrast between my brow colour and just underneath. And I've used it in the other places as well. I use it down my nose and on my cheekbones, but it's a really nice thing to do just to accentuate the brows and highlight bits that are already further forward. So, and it's not too shiny. Some of the young girls put these really lovely, very shimmery highlighter under their brows. And I just think this is so much more natural. It's got a tiny, tiny bit of shimmer, but it's more dewy than shimmery, and it's lovely. So eyelashes, as Tricia said, as we get older, they definitely get thinner. They disappear, they drop out, they're not as dark, they're not as lustrous. For me, mascara is definitely a desert island product. And I'm going to, first of all, curl my eyelashes. If you've never tried the eyelash curlers, they are fantastic. And I find that my lashes look much, much better if I take the time, 10 seconds really, to curl them. You do need to squeeze quite hard. Open, but you can see that has really made a difference. Very, very simple, but it makes a massive difference. So mascara, you can actually also change the shape of your eyes in the way in which you put your mascara on. I like to use the black waterproof mascara, and what I like to do is if you want your eyes to look a little bit more elongated, you can actually sweep your mascara outwards, and your eyelashes will stay slightly further outwards. If your eyes are already wide set and you want to bring them in, you can just sort of do it the other way so that your eyelashes slightly move inwards. It's quite clever, actually. Have a little play next time you put your mascara on. This product is specifically designed, I think, for older eyes. I love the way that this mascara builds up beautifully, but without having, as Tricia said, those little clumpy bits that make your eyelashes look spiky and unnatural. So you can build it up as much as you want. I like to sort of blink. I like to blink onto it and zigzag it a little bit through. So you get right to the base of the lashes, and it doesn't ever look unnatural or clumpy, but you can sort of see that eye already looks so much more framed having the mascara on than the other eye. And you don't have to do the bottom. If you put eyeliner on, you might not want to do the bottom, but you can just, if you want to put a tiny bit on the bottom, you can do that too. Just if you've got brown. A lot of ladies don't really have many lashes on the bottom, and therefore the eyeliner actually can compensate for that. So that is one eye. Now, if that all just sounds too much, you're in a real hurry, or you just can't see, then what I just want to do very, very, very quickly is to show you a very, very simple way to do your eyes on the other side. So I'm still going to use a tiny bit of the eye primer. So even if I don't put eyeshadow on, I would suggest, if you can, just put a little bit of the smoother eye primer on, because it will just make your eyes look even and get rid of those little slight veins, etc. that you have. So a little bit of eye primer on. So I'm not going to put shadow. What I am going to do is just to still put a little bit of eyeliner. So just a little bit of eyeliner. This is the chocolate. Just on the top, maybe a tiny bit on the bottom, but not too much. So that's a little bit of eyeliner in the eye. And I am going to put my mascara, my Desert Island product on. So I'm just going to quickly put on my lashes, a few seconds. Even if you can't see, it's amazing how you'd be surprised. You possibly could still put a bit of mascara on the top lashes just by feel. Tricia is amazing. She can put her lipstick on, she can do everything without looking in the mirror. She's so much better than I am when we do photo shoots together. She's incredible. So it just shows that you can do things by feel without seeing too much. But even just doing that, a little bit of mascara, even just on the top. And then one more little thing I'm going to do is to take the taupe. And so rather than bring back brow, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of taupe through my brows, just to very quickly, not quite as effective as bring back brow shape, but it is quick and easy if I've got no time at all. And the other thing you could do, which if any of you watched my 5-minute makeup video, I put a sweep of bronzer on my eye, just sort of here, which is not quite as perfect as this, but it just gives that illusion of a little bit of colour onto your eyelids, which then makes that little bit of shape and shading. So hopefully you can see that, you know, I look a little bit better in this one, even though I've hardly put anything on, a bit of mascara, a tiny bit of eyeliner. And this one, again, I put sort of 3 colours on and the full works, but it's still fairly natural. So I'm going to hand back to Tricia so we can see what Tricia has done on her eyes. Hand back over.
Thank you so much, Sally. Brilliant as always. And hopefully you understand that what we're trying to do here is to think of every single thing that we can think of that you might have issues with and give you as many solutions as we possibly can. Now, I hope that you think I look better than I did at the beginning. If you think I look worse, well, I failed completely to convince you that eye makeup is so important. So hopefully now, looking at me, you can see that, contrasting with how I started, I've added shape, color, definition, and interest to my eye area, so that if that gorgeous man that I've been searching for my whole life actually does appear at long last, I could look into his eyes, he could look into mine, and he could think, gosh, she's got lovely eyeshadow on. Okay, so what lovely eyeshadow do I have on? Well, let me go through step by step what I did when I was off camera. To begin with, I started to work really hard to get rid of that sort of hollow-eyed look that I dislike intensely. And of course, I did that by using concealer. I used O2 concealer, and I used that concealer brush number 4 in order to, I'm going to try and get myself on my own screen. That's better. Then I can see what you can see. Yeah, so I did that whole thing of minimizing this area, any bags that I've got to make them look better, less prominent. So concealer first, top that off with some translucent powder to set it. And then the next thing I did, Sally demonstrated this, I put some eye primer on. I agree with Sally totally. Eye primer, and somebody said last week, they asked a question and they said, how do I stop my eye makeup from, or I don't know what the problem was. And we said, well, you know, eye primer does that. I think it was migrating or creasing, I think it was. And we said, well, eye primer is designed, do you use eye primer? And this person said, no, I don't actually. Whoa. There you go. This is why these things are so good and they work so well. So I put some eye primer on, and then I've done a fairly subtle makeup, I think, because I've used this. Now, if you look at what I'm wearing, I'm not saying you should always match your eyeshadow to what you're wearing. It's a bit like matching a handbag to your shoes, but it's absolutely perfect. It's a beautiful way for this to complement what I'm wearing, this blue, but it's quite a scary look, certainly in the palette here. So how did I apply it? Well, to begin with, I used the lightest color, the very soft, subtle pale blue, over my whole lid. And I didn't, as you can see, I've done no socket line shading with it. But what I have done to make it a bit punchier is to use the brightest color, the middle one. And I've used that using my wedge brush. I've done a video about this, but maybe showing this, demonstrating this technique. So I don't know whether Bryony wants to add it at the bottom of the video. So I've used the brightest blue along my lash line, using the wedge brush slightly on its side as opposed to on its edge. And I've just literally given myself an eye line using the wedge brush and the bright blue. So it's not too in your face, but it does actually look really pretty when I look in the mirror. And I've done it with this pale blue. Then I've taken the midnight blue, which is the last one, the deepest color, this way, this one. Doing it back to front. And I've just taken on the outer edge of my eye, I've just added, I'm really, really keen to get my eyes to look as almond shaped as possible. So that's the shape they used to be, and now they're much rounder. So I'm pulling it out there, down here, pulling it out down here. And that's how I've completed that look. What I've done then, I curled my eyelashes just as Sally did. And I then applied, I think 2 or 3, possibly 3, even 3 coats of our wonderful mascara. And hopefully you can see, if I do that, you can see what a difference that's made. And I totally agree with Sally. What I do with mascara is I always pull it out like that. So when I'm applying it, I'm pulling it out so that my eyelashes go that way, because I don't want them. I want my eyes to look more almond shaped. And then right at the end, oh, I didn't talk about my brow shape. So I added in the brown brow shape. Now, if you are scared of this product, we have 2 versions of it. So if you're still a bit blondie, either because you have blonde highlights added to your hair or because your hair is quite fair and your eyebrows are really fair or almost non-existent, then choosing the blonde one or the grey one, if you've got white or grey hair, is the solution to being frightened of putting too much product on. Now, I actually still use the brown one, partly because my eyebrows are still brown. I do sometimes wear the grey one, but I think this one for me is the most flattering. And then I added in little tiny wispy hairs. You know, it's just, I just do it as if I'm literally drawing a brow hair on there. And then I use the spoolie brush to knock it back. Please don't be afraid of the brow shape. I really did come up with the idea of this to give older women the opportunity to have their brows back in a way, that's why we call it bring back brow shape, in a way that they hadn't got it before. And I get quite, what's the word? I think the word might be exasperated actually when people say, oh, it's too dark. It's only too dark because of the way that you've applied it. If you use the spoolie, you can get it to exactly the color you need it to be. So when I first put my brow shape on, it often is a bit too dark, but I take the spoolie and then I just keep flicking it away until it goes, that's it. That balances my hair and it balances the rest of my face. So the brow shape. And I also, like Sally, puts a small amount of highlighter just on here because I want that brow boned to look more prominent, because it's a nice feature on my face, as are my, the top of my cheekbones, the places which you are bringing forward, making more prominent, and exaggerating, if you like. You lighten, and you have to look at your face and think, what are the best bits? What are the bits to bring out and to make sure that they really look their best? And then I think the other thing is your cheeks. So obviously that's blusher. And today I've added tulip pink lipstick. Do you know what? I've only got this. I hope Brian isn't too cross with me if I say this. I haven't got an actual tulip pink product. I've got the sample that I was sent to try it, to see if we wanted it for the range. But I hate waste, so I'm not going to throw this away. I'm going to keep using my sample. You see, it's got the sample number on it. So I have this in my bag, and I love it. Every now and again, when I'm feeling that I want something a bit lighter, a bit more spring-like, a little bit, I don't know, prettier, I reach for my tulip pink. So I'm going to I'll show you the actual bullet. So I'll cover up the fact that it's in quite a grotty little sample thing. Obviously, if you buy it, it will come in a proper gorgeous, look fabulous forever case. I think that's it. Unless there are any questions, Bryony, have we had any questions while we've been?
Yes, we've got one question saying, should I definitely yank out eyebrow hairs that grow out at right angles?
Totally, always. Yes, 100 times yes. Do you really want to look like Dennis Healy? The audience is old enough to know who I'm talking about. Anybody under the age of about 70 won't know at all who I'm talking about. Dennis Healy was a politician. I think he was a Labour politician. I think he's dead now. He ought to be. I don't ought to be because he's so old. He'd be so old. Anyway, Dennis Healy used to have eyebrows that literally formed, well, I think he could have had birds nesting in them. I mean, honestly. And they were like shelves above his eyes, thick hair and long, wiry hair. Dreadful. I mean, they were trademark almost. So you don't want to look like Dennis Healy. Get rid of those horrible hairs because they don't do anything. They do nothing. They are in the wrong place. They're going the wrong direction. They are not pleasant to look at. And also, do you know what? I'm also going to mention facial hair. Every now and again, I'll do this on my chin. I think, oh my God. Oh, and I can feel those hairs that are coming through. Tweezer those away ruthlessly as well. So sort your eyebrows out and don't worry about tweezing them away. They may not grow, and if they do grow back, they may grow back in the same way. They're doing nothing for you, absolutely nothing. And if you've got the brow shape, you've got this instant solution to putting that hair back in the right place, in the right way, at the right color, and so on. Anything else, Bryony?
We've also had a question from Chris, which isn't actually about eye makeup. It's about getting an update on the current situation with the emails. She's still receiving the blog emails, but isn't receiving her daily emails. I think I can answer this by saying we're trying our hardest. It's an issue with the provider of the emails, which is marking lots of businesses' email as spam. So it's not just us as a business that are struggling, it's lots of businesses struggling with emails. So we're working really hard on fixing it. I can't give you a date of when that will be fixed, but we're trying our best to fix it.
Yes, so the message there is it's not us, it's the fact that certain email addresses that you have are now being seen as annoyance rather than something that you want. So they're being blocked at source. So we're doing something which we're trying a fix so that our emails don't get blocked in the same way. So we are working on it. But I think I'm right in saying, Bryony, that for a couple of weeks, I'm not sure that's come to an end now, we've actually turned off we've turned them off so that you can't get them, so that when we turn them on, hopefully they'll be recognized as something that you want rather than something that you don't want. Is that right, Bryony?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, sorry, very technical and very boring. You can, certainly with a blog, you can always find the blog on the website. It's in, you can either scroll right down to the bottom and it says blog, or you can look at the top where it says discover, and that will give you a menu. And at the top of discover is Tricia's blog. But for the And the offer for the week is always on the end of that blog. I think I'm right in saying that, Bryony?
Yes, and you can always find it on the homepage of the website as well.
Yeah, okay. About which, let's just quickly mention the offer. I need Bryony's help for this. We've got 20% off must-haves, is that right?
Yes, so it's 20% off our top 10 must-haves with the code everyday, or one word.
Okay, do you want to just read out what the must-haves are?
I can do off the top of my head. 1 second.
Sorry, Bryony, I should have said that.
No, it's okay.
Could I just say one thing before, just something that I didn't mention that is so obvious to me, but it's probably not obvious, going back to eye makeup. What I didn't say enough is the most important thing you can do when you are putting on your eye makeup, I just want to say that, is to blend it with the blender brush. And I know I've done that, I thought I was doing it, but I just, the darker color you use, the more you need to blend. You can never blend enough. It will make everything look so much better. And then with relation to the eyebrows, the other thing you can do, if you're a little bit scared about tweezering, before you tweezer, use some scissors. If you've got wayward ones, actually trim them to see whether, you know, that is still going in the wrong direction. If it's still going in the wrong direction, then definitely take it out. But little trimming them first is also a good thing to do. Sorry, I'll go back to you.
Great idea. Yeah, so the top 10 must-haves are the face prime, our continuous cover foundation, the blusher in both sizes, the bring back brow shape, smooth out eye prime, the eye shade trio, mascara, lip prime, lip liner, and the lustrous colour lipstick. So lots to choose from.
Absolutely. I mean, they really are the must-haves, and there's lots of products that we've mentioned today that are there. So you can get them 20% off. You put them in your basket, that product will have 20% removed at checkout. That's how it works. And remind us again of the code, Bryony.
Every day. Yeah.
Capital letters, every day. Good. Thank you. So I hope that was helpful and useful, and that you enjoyed it, and that when you sit in front of your mirror next time, that you give some of these ideas a go, because we can promise you that they really will improve how fabulous you look, and everybody wants to look fabulous. So have a wonderful week, everybody, leading up to Easter. Hope you have a very, very enjoyable Easter as well. I bought 5 Easter eggs yesterday. Not for me, I hasten to add, but for my grandchildren. So I'm nearly ready. So as I said, have a great week and weekend, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Makeup Magic Monday. Bye-bye, everybody. And thank you, Sally and Bryony. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.